Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. This time round, we are checking out a mod by the name of Deathmatch Simulator. As the name implies, there is a fair amount of deathmatch to this particular mod, but in terms of the simulator side of things, I'd say that's where the definition becomes a little looser than most. For those of you expecting this to contain a roster of finely tuned deathmatch bots with which to test your skills against, you will be sorely mistaken. And maybe slightly confused, because instead we have a roster of enemies, some familiar, some not. They do move in that trademark deathmatch bot style, however, when it comes to how easy they are to kill and the weaponry that they wield, that is typically defined by the enemy type itself. Taking up the lower end of the roster, you've got familiar faces such as former humans, shotgunners, and imps typified by the default weaponry and relative ease to kill. As you move further up and spend longer in a map, however, more exotic varieties will indeed appear. This is accompanied by bigger health pools, stranger behavior such as Duke Nukem repeatedly kicking walls for no good reason, and of course, stronger armaments that will be used against you. A good example of this would be enemy types such as the Quake Ranger, who comes equipped with nail gun, dealing a fair amount of damage at a considerable rate of fire, also a little tricky to hit considering his penchant for bunny hopping. You'll also come across Doom guys. They come equipped with the SSG, so close range combat is ill-advised against those. And yes, that was indeed a blood cultist who not only come equipped with a rifle, but also chuck around the odd bundle of dynamite every now and again. And at the very top of the enemy roster, at least in this version of Deathmatch Simulator, you will find the Cyber Baron, something you'll hopefully catch a glimpse of relatively soon during the course of this video. Comes equipped with a rocket launcher, fairly chunky health pool, and is, by all accounts, a bit of a git to deal with. If you're wondering what the ultimate point of Deathmatch Simulator is, then, That's a very good question. I'll have to get back to you on that one. But in the meantime, I'm perfectly happy with the relatively simple objective that it serves up to you at the start of each match. Kill X number of enemies before the counter hits 5 minutes. Each successive match that you complete will increase that kill counter by 5, whereas the time limit, as far as I can tell, always remains the same. If anything, it comes down to a fascinating exercise in efficient murderization, each successive map upping the ante in terms of how best to prioritize your kills. Obviously, at first, you'll be able to focus on the smaller fry, what with the reduced health pools, but as the bigger kahunas start spawning in during the later course of the map itself, you'll want to start seeking out those bigger, beefier weapons. So while these sessions may not give you as much hands-on experience with dealing with lifelike opponents, they'll at the very least give you a stronger sense of geography when it comes to navigating the levels and finding those optimal routes towards prized pickups. In terms of the weaponry here in Deathmatch Simulator, you'll find a few interesting additions to go alongside the usual suspects. Additions such as the grenade launcher here, offering a shorter bouncy lob than most, but still delivering on the explosive damage dealing when it connects. We've also got the likes of the railgun, offering supremely satisfying one-hit kills, provided, of course, that you can nail the accuracy of the shot. Flamethrower, as you'd expect, throws flames, while the minigun absolutely shreds. The Quake 3 pizza cutter makes an appearance for those of you out there that just love hearing. And honorable mention has to go to the firing effect of this BFG. You know what? I'm gonna do that again. Gosh, that's pretty. At this point, it's very much worth mentioning that Deathmatch Simulator, as it currently stands, is a work in progress. But even then, what's currently available works pretty damn well, and I was intrigued enough by the conceit to want to pick it up and give it a whirl for myself, just to get a sense of what it's currently about and where it may potentially develop further on down the line. But as it currently stands, I feel like I've found this quite the instructive experience. Now, this may come as a shock to some of you out there, but I don't really spend all that much time in Doom Deathmatch lobbies. And as a result, I'm kind of unfamiliar with the lion's share of deathmatch or multiplayer maps that are currently doing the rounds, so this gives me a nice bit of insight. It gives me more of an impression of the lay of the land of at least 5 of those maps, because that's currently what's included. Doubtless more to be added in future, and I don't have to deal with any additional pressure in terms of measuring up to online bots or online players. Instead, there's this alternate, much lower pressure style of gameplay here that allows you to develop that familiarity and, you know, shoot for a target. And at least learn those routes, learn those pickups, get more efficient at shooting things in the face, which, admittedly, I've got a long way to go on. And inadvertently, for a mod that I imagine was developed as a goof, is actually working pretty well for weird anxiety-ridden people such as myself. So that's good, I guess. The intermission screens are pretty good too. Could it be anyone other than Kinsey, honestly? If there's one thing that is always assured whenever Kinsey is involved in a mod, it's that there's going to be a little bit of personality to it, be it in some of the touches in the background, the sound effects used, or in this case, most assuredly, the intermission screens. And this is why I'm intrigued to see where this may potentially head next. Even if it just continues along a similar bent to what's already currently available, I'd be happy to see extra tweaks here and there. I'd be interested to see if there's any plans to add to the pre-existing monster roster, whether there's going to be anything above the likes of the Cyber Baron, for example. But in the meantime, it's interesting for what it is, and if you find yourself intrigued in your own right, then the link, as usual, is in the description below. While I'm at it, I'd like to give a great big thank you to my wonderful patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so very much for supporting the channel and for helping to make content like this possible. If you're interested in lending a hand yourself, maybe you'd like to see your name in the credits, maybe you'd like to gain early access to my videos before anyone else, heck, maybe you just enjoy the smell of burning money. Well, if that's the case, the link to my Patreon page is also in the description below. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I know I didn't go quite in depth as I'd like to when it comes to all of the tweaks and differences between weapons, but truth is, I'm not really well versed on divining those specific differences, so surface level analysis is the best you're gonna get. So I hope that's okay. But in any case, feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, and while you're at it, feel free to suggest any mods you'd like to see me cover in future editions of Doom Mod Madness. This has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.